a female gamer of color, how do you feel about the state of black representation in the games industry as general? And then the second part, as far as like video game protagonists of color, do you think we're starting to see improvements there? Do you think more can be done? So how do you feel on both subjects there?
Oh, sure.
Hmm.
So, I mean, starting off, huge shout out to Nadine from our
Yes.
Uncharted 4. I loved that character. She was so cool and she had the natural hair, which
Hmm.
is a beef I have.
Talk about it,
It
sis.
doesn't seem very important, but when you see black characters in games and they always have straight hair, and I know
Hmm.
that hair in games is still terrible. I'll fully say that
Yeah.
hair in games still looks really bad, and I don't blame people for not wanting to tackle curly hair. But when you see someone do it right and they take the care to give this woman a natural look,
Hmm.
and I just loved her as a character for who she was. She was funny. She was tough as nails.
Hmm.
She was just cool to be around. And she was a villain, which is great.
Hmm.
And then, of course, in Lost Legacy, you get to hang out with Chloe, and it's the two of them, tag
Hmm.
team in the world. So I adored that. And that experience, it showed me how much it does matter to me. That's something we talked about in my discussion with
Yes.
Colin, because he was
Awesome.
sort of saying, why does it matter to have representation in games?
Hmm.
And one of the examples I gave was that I'm biracial. My dad's white, my
Hmm.
mom's black. As a kid, you never saw biracial families on TV.
Mm.
You saw black families, you saw white families, and I never thought anything of it until I saw it was like an Old Navy commercial
Mm.
that showed a biracial family.
Mm.
And it was the first time in my life I saw someone on TV that looked like I did,
Hmm.
and it did matter.
Mm.
And that's when I realized that it does it does feel different to have
Mm.
people in media that look like you.
Yes.
And so I do think games are going in a great direction.
Hmm.
I'm certainly not, someone that's like heavily pushing for it because I want it to be
Organic.
meaningful.
Yeah.
I don't want this to feel forced.
Hmm.
If you create a great game that has a black woman in the lead, right in the forefront, like Uncharted 4,
Hmm.
they did an excellent job
Or
with
the
that.
gunk.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Absolutely.
so I'm happy with where games are going.
Mhm.
The new Call of Duty that had like the black protagonist in that,
Mhm.
he was an excellent character. He's a strong leader. He was just really fun to, play as, and
Mhm.
the rest of the crew as well. So
Mhm.
I'm happy with what we have so far and just excited to see the future of, what else they bring us in games.
Absolutely, totally agree, and that's why I wanted to bring that subject up because I had to get you Nadine. Was it GIF or I always mispronounce it? GIF or GIF?
Gift. The
Sorry,
sacrilege.
sorry,
Sacrilege.
GIF. Okay,
It's
but I
not
had to
peanut
get
butter,
the
sir.
GIF for Baba Viking because I knew how much that character definitely meant. And good. So I was going to add something else after you finish.
It's weird. Like exactly what Micah says. Like you don't realize that you want that representation until you actively think about it not being there. Because oftentimes you watch stuff and you don't think about it when you're younger necessarily if it doesn't come up as a subject. And as you get older, you start seeing it and you realize how important it is. I remember just a couple of weeks ago, my wife and I sat down and watched Encanto, the latest Disney movie. And then there was a whole sort of meme and gif that came out of that where a young boy was standing next to a character that was in the movie on the TV, and he was a biracial kid, dark skinned, kind of big hair, afro, and the kid he saw himself in that character in a way that honestly I haven't really seen before. Maybe looking at like Miles Morales in the Spider-Man movie or something like that, but before that I'd never really seen that representation. And for it to come from Disney, kind of like the most evil of evil, if you want to say that. It's excellent to see because that on that level it's something that's being overtly addressed, right?
Yes.
You have to, and I wish it didn't have to be that way, that you have to do that. But again, in order to move forward, it has to be something that you make an effort to put in these in games and in movies and do properly.
Yeah.
So
Well, I want to defend Disney right there. I didn't like
yeah, I don't.
Okay. First, Disney did
Kid
have
sound like you got the
Black
bag.
Princess.
Kid, you got the Disney
all right?
bag?
They did. They did.
You know why? Because my daughters watch Disney stuff, and I sit there and I watch it with them, so I see a lot of our representation in it. And they had a lot of Hispanic other movies as well. And I just finished watching Luca, and about
Yes.
2 Italian mermen, merboys, which was really good. And I thought about it while I'm watching it with my granddaughter. I've never saw, and I could be wrong, a movie about Italians in like their homeland, right?
Right. Just
And
sort of
I s-
Americanized stereotypes of
Right.
Italians. Right. Right.
So I said, wow. I said for some Italian kid right now, they're seeing their self in this right here. And I said, this must be so cool right now.
Yeah.
And it was just a really good, I really liked the film. It made me cry. Yeah, I do cry.
Grown man
Oh, I
stuff.
cry all the
Grown
time. I
man,
cry
grown
all
man.
the time.
Yep.
Another thing, I do have to give Disney their props though, because another thing that I saw, I don't know if you saw this as well, King, interstitially between movies, they'll give like a little advertisement thing, and they showed a thing where it was a sort of a reel of all the old, crazy racist movies.
Oh yeah.
And they said, this is our past.
Mm.
We know what we've done.
Yeah.
We know what we have to change in the future. Like they addressed it in a way I never thought it would, again, and as a young kid, you watch all these movies, you love these movies, you don't see those things, right?
They took them off.
Yeah, they took them off completely. But the thing about it, for them to acknowledge it that way and actually just re-show them, because a lot of times that stuff will disappear, you'll never see it again. But for them to address it so directly and say, hey, we're making a concerted effort to right this wrong, was something that I saw. I was like, wow, things really are changing. There really is
if
a
you
shift.
want our consumer dollars, and you're going to represent us in this poor fashion, then we shall not patron your wares. It's just very simple. And if you do want our dollars, then you're going to have to represent us accordingly.
Yeah.
And like you said, you saw a commercial, and you never thought about it before until you saw the commercial with a family that represented yours. And it was like, wow, I didn't know I needed something that I didn't see.
And that's where the emotional part of it hits, right? Because sometimes myself, like, why am I getting emotional? This is a simple thing. Like, why? Because you don't see it. So when you finally see it, you're like, okay, this is me. Like, I'm out
That's
here.
how I felt with Black Panther.
I remember, Black Panther.
Black Panther felt that way.
I remember playing Miles Morales. When I saw Pasteles, I lost it. I lost it. My wife walked in front of the TV. She was like, "Are those pasteles?" I'm like, "Yep." This is amazing.
It's different.
I watched the whole Black Panther. My kids are sitting there, and I'm crying throughout the whole movie because this is the first movie, and it could be something else, but and it was just no buffoonery.
Yeah. Culture.
We weren't the doorman.
Yeah.
It just. I just felt a huge sense of pride throughout the whole movie, and I'm like, wow, my kids get to grow up here now. This. Right here. And I'm like, wow, I get to experience this with them. I don't know what this means later for them, but I know what it means for me now.
No doubt. And definitely want to include, I want to disclude Addict on this, but just your feeling on the whole representation thing with gaming. Addict's quiet.
He said, I am not touching that with a 20-foot pole.
I ain't gonna lie, like I don't like talking though about that stuff because
he don't.
I feel like it doesn't matter what I say. If I say something, people tell me I'm white. I need to shut up.
Nope.
If I say something else,
that's
people
why I
tell
asked
me-
you.
Not here. Not here. You know that. Like,
That's
You
why I
already
asked
know
you.
you're
That's
my
why I
brother.
said you're my
We
brother.
sleep in the same room together. So
That's
we
why.
gotta-
No, just in general, man. Whatever you feel, it's your feeling. It's how you feel, brother. Don't worry
It's
about
just something that it's gonna take time. It's got to be one of those scenarios where I don't think a lot of people are against it. A lot of people are against like if it's forced.
it. Right.
Like turning their favorite characters they grew up with, turning them to a different ethnicity. Like I think it's more of that than anything else, because like a lot of especially when it comes to like women in games, like I've never played a strong woman character in a game like Lara Croft, Cat, and felt, you know what, I shouldn't have played that. Like I've usually don't care what that person is. Like they could be I've played games that are animals. Like so I think it's just about, the more you see good positive influence, like I can't remember the one from Forspoken. What's her name?
Oh yeah. I know you're talking about. Damn, I know those guys that are making it, but I know the character. Yes, character called female of color.
But I do think because you know,
And Compulsion's Game Addict or Project, I believe Project Midnight is going to be also.
Midnight. Yeah.
well, I do think that there needs to be a company that will help other companies with different hairstyles, different, you know, tones, because I feel like, because let's be real here, you know, there's a lot of companies that's not in America. There's a lot of companies that, you know, especially a lot of Eastern, they probably don't even see black people there. So like I think there needs to be like an outsourced studio that someone could go to that does nothing but customize, does like customization for everyone, not just, you know, because I mean, like, be real with you, like I've never cared about stuff like that, but I've never felt like I couldn't make a character that didn't look like me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like see, Attica always make him. I can't make me.
No, but it's a good discussion, right? Because like Mama Micah said, you know, one of the frustrations, you know, especially was always hair, right? It was just like the hair wasn't right, or
I go with the ball option.
Yeah, and then like, you know, I don't want to call certain games out, but you know, it's certain games that, let's be real, you know, as a person of color, you go to the character creator and you're like, is that a lot of
Enix games?
You know what I'm saying? It's not a lot of options here. It's just a different shade on the same, you know, and I'm just like,
I like my hair in Square Enix games. I always have
what's funny is
like this Japanese cut.
Cog will spend like 45 minutes on a character development. And I'm like, and he's like, well, how did you get through it? So I was like, I use a preset, I don't care. Like, and he's like, and I was like, Cog, you're literally under a mask. They can't see none of that. Like,
bro, it's so ridiculous because even people give me credit for my Mass Effect trilogy representation. Like, I spent so much time in there because I was like, okay, they got this option. I can do this. I can do that. They got the tone right, shade.
Not to mention if they start letting him like adjust like the how like fat and stuff is.
I gotta have the musculature. You know, we gotta be outside.
Well, it's not even just that. Like, you can customize you can customize the nose, like your cheekbones. Like, if you give all those things to Cog, he's probably just going to play that. That's as far as he's getting.
Listen, man, I love it, man. But yeah, it's real. I'm glad we had a discussion. Last thing I want to give you credit for, Mama Micah, was when we're talking about, you know, protagonists of color. You shared one that really hit home was Lee from the Walking Dead, and I thought that was awesome. You know, the way you described him, and for the people who haven't heard you talk to Colin about it, like, why does Lee from the Walking Dead, the Telltale series, why does he mean so much to you?
Yeah, Lee was he was a father figure to Clementine. And that is something that we lack so much in media, is strong Black father figures. And so I'm playing this game and you have this adorable child that you're trying to keep safe. And you step up, and just seeing that the way that he had dealt with like prejudice, you know, when people find out about his past, or essentially, you know, find out the situation he was involved in prior to like the start of the game. And he's trying to deal with all of that while being the only person taking care of this little girl in this crazy situation. And he was just a fantastic character. He's calm, he's level-headed, he's smart. He wasn't at any point, you know, he wasn't over the top. He was just a real person, it felt like. And it was part of representation. It's not just about skin color. It's also about, you know, who you are. For me, as a kid, I grew up watching like Hey Arnold and realizing all of these kids are poor, and that's how I grew up. And so it's not just about how people look, it's also seeing your situation, you know, seeing single parent households, seeing people that are low income. And that's what I hope we see even more of in games, is not just diversity of how people look, but, you know, characters that maybe they're low income, they have single parent families, things like that, to just so you can relate more to the game. When you relate to it, that's when you get so invested in these characters. That's when you really feel like I'm having an experience here and not just pressing buttons for 40 hours.
Absolutely.